With the credit stacking that we got, I believe it was around $100,000 that initial round. So we just bought it, the whole facility in cash, with kind of the idea we're going to have to put the work in, get it fixed up, and then go back to the bank and say, hey, we've got this cash flow. The whole property was cash flowing around $5,000 a month, but it was enough to pay ourselves back, essentially, the cash put in. I had no idea that was available before I joined.
We are here today with Kyle, who is a credit stacking member for the last, I think, 2, maybe 3 years. Kyle's done some amazing things in the business world. He was just sharing with me how he got access to capital to purchase a business and then was able to refinance that business and has done amazing things with that. So Kyle, if you're down to share some of the details on that story that you were just telling me on how you got access to, I think you said about a couple $100,000 of 0% credit, you and your partner used that for the down payment. Can you just help paint that picture for the listeners?
Sure, yeah. So we had been looking for self-storage in particular for a little while. Not quite sure how we were going to land a deal or work a deal. Ended up finding one that had been under contract and fell out of contract because they couldn't get financing on the facility from a traditional bank. And so with the credit stacking that we got, I believe it was around $100,000 that initial round, 100 to 125,000, was able to use it to fund the down payment as well as cash. So we just bought it, the whole facility in cash, with kind of the idea we're going to have to put the work in, get it fixed up so that we could rent the units and rent the buildings. There's 2 additional buildings on the property, and then go back to the bank and say, hey, we've got this cash flow, let's get a loan. Process took about 2 years, which is, a little longer than we wanted it to. But we were able to do some additional credit stacking along the way.
Kyle, how long did it take to get that about $125K of capital after getting into credit stacking? Do you remember?
It was pretty quick. I had a pretty good credit profile personally. I had a business entity set up already, so I just had to do a few tweaks on that. I would say it was within the first 2 months.
Oh, 2 months. Okay, nice. So super quick. So it sounded like you got the $125K. And then I think you mentioned, if you don't mind me sharing, I think it cost around $250,000 to acquire that business. So about 50% of it was on the 0% cards. And then it took you, I think you said 2 years to then refinance. What did you do in that 2-year period to get the business into a better condition? And then how did that refinance go? And what did it do for you guys?
So from the bank's perspective, they just wanted to see things rented. So we had to, physically go in and clean out some of the units, contact people that hadn't paid in a while, just go through that process on a number of units. I would guess there was about 20, a total of 38 units, 20 of them just had stuff in there from who knows who. And we had to go through paper records to find this thing. So we were setting up a digital payment system, a process for people checking in, checking out, booking the units, and also move out processes that way. And of course, collecting payments digitally. They were literally collecting cash in a mailbox when we took it over. So that, and then getting the lease up on there was 2 other buildings on the property, got a long-term lease on one and a month-to-month lease on the other. Once those were leased, the whole property was cash flowing around $5,000 a month. So that was very strong cash flow for the bank to say, okay, we can refinance this. And they valued it right around $500,000.
Wow. So you purchased it, you and your partner, for $250,000. And then on that refinance, you got the valuation of $500,000.
Yeah. Now we didn't pull $500,000 out. They won't give you that whole amount of money, but it was enough to pay ourselves back, essentially, the cash put in.
Nice. And so in this example, they valued at $500,000. How much are you able to refinance out of it?
Yeah, so lending's changed a little bit. They used to do, 75% or something, but since this commercial property and it's on the smaller side, they kind of gave us the choice between doing 50 or 60%.
Okay, so then you took the money out of business, paid off the cards, and then it sounded like it didn't reimburse you for your initial down payment out of your own pocket.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then we're planning to either hold it for a little bit longer, make some more improvements, or sell it in the near future.
Okay, nice. And then you mentioned in that 2-year period, you were doing some additional credit stacking to get access to more capital. How did that process go, and how did you put that capital to use?
So that was primarily used in kind of refinancing the cards that we had to make sure we had 0% for longer. Also did purchase, an Amazon automation business in that time. That was kind of an attempt, hey, let's do something with this capital. And that was what we got with that second round of funding.
Okay. Awesome. For people who are, maybe if you can speak to yourself, a couple of years ago, or maybe speak to listeners who are maybe in a similar position as you were, considering buying a business or getting access to capital and deploying it like the way you did, what kind of advice would you give to that person? Because I know some people are a little bit concerned about bringing on debt to put into a project, but how can you speak to that person who's debating on doing something like this?
Definitely. I would say what worked was taking care of your personal credit, making sure the personal credit is great. And that also helps with funding and funding again if you need to, which is key. If you have your dings on your personal credit, whether that's just late payments or anything like that, then it's going to be much harder to continue. And then also for me, it was doing something that was proven versus something that was kind of going out on a limb for what worked for the use of funds.
Okay, makes perfect sense. And was credit stacking and the coaching and support, was that pretty helpful for you on getting access to that type of capital?
Definitely. I had no idea that was available before I joined, and it's definitely given me some tools to use now and looking for like an SBA loan in the future, that kind of thing, making sure, credit and my profile is good to go for that type of larger long-term one.
Awesome. Okay. Kyle, excuse me. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think it's going to be an inspiration to many. Right after we end this recording, I'm looking forward to putting together some next steps for you to help you get some even additional capital. So thank you so much, Kyle. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.